Every inhabitant of the small village on the edge of the dense forest knew about the lake, but few dared to speak of it aloud. The locals simply called it the Lake of Dead Souls. Legends about it were passed down from generation to generation, and each one was scarier than the last. It was said that at night you could hear whispers over the water, as if the ghosts of those who had found their deaths there were calling for new victims. The lake looked deceptively peaceful in the daytime. The smooth, mirror-like surface of the water reflected the clear sky and the surrounding forest. But as soon as the sun disappeared behind the horizon, everything changed. Alexei, a young and curious biology student, came to these parts to collect material for his work on rare plants. He heard about the mysterious lake by chance from the elderly owner of the lodge where he was staying. "If you value your life, boy, don't go near the lake," the old man warned, nervously tapping his fingers on the edge of the table. "It has already taken enough lives, and it does not spare strangers." But Alexei, being a rational man, only waved it away. Superstition and only superstition, he thought, determined to prove to himself that no ghosts existed. At sunset, he took his flashlight, notebook and camera, then set out for the lake. As he approached, the air became somehow heavy, as if the forest itself didn't want to let him go any farther. Alexei persistently made his way through the thickets and finally found himself by the water. The lake was still, and the faint light of the moon reflected in its depths. Alexei took a few pictures and bent down to scoop water into a test tube, and then he heard it, a barely audible whisper. "Help us!" The voice seemed to come from the depths of the lake. The boy looked around, but there was no one around. His heart beat faster, but Alexei thought it was just the wind. He squatted down and leaned into the water again. It wasn't his reflection on the surface. A pale woman with empty eyes was looking at him from the depths. Alexei recoiled sharply from the water, almost dropping the lantern. His heart was pounding frantically, and his palms were covered with sweat. He looked around. The forest was plunged into deafening silence. Only a faint wind moved the treetops. "It's just a dream," he convinced himself, though his inner voice shouted otherwise. But there was still that face before his eyes, pale, lifeless, with empty eyes full of silent despair. He exhaled slowly and leaned toward the water again. This time its surface was calm. His own reflection was staring back at him, and nothing supernatural seemed to be happening. But suddenly a hand rose from the water. Crooked, claw-like fingers gripped Alexei's wrist. Cold like 1,000 icy needles ran across his skin. He screamed, broke free, and fell to the ground, gulping for air. The hand disappeared as suddenly as it had appeared, but there were still marks on his wrist, pale as marble prints. "Help us!" came the whisper again, louder and closer this time. Alexei jumped to his feet and backed away from the shore. His flashlight blinked on